My name is Pope Pops and I am getting ready for the Squidmar Open. The last few days I made some shorts to learn how to work the editing program and to get some Nurgle under my belt. Now we are getting ready for the real work. To create this nice creature I am using the following paints. I use them separately or mixed. When I mix, I always keep the 25 rule in mind. Base coat is 100% color 1. Then you go brighter with 25 to 75, then 50 to 50 and so forth. The first thing you should always do when you prepare to paint a miniature is getting rid of the mold lines. Personally, I do not like this process and I always skip corners, but it is an important step, definitely when you prepare to enter any competition. And mold lines can be found on every little piece of the miniature. In this case, the wings, the legs, and the body. I know that a friend of me is always complaining about the lack of interest I have for this part, but be honest, it is a drag, right? When you find yourself stuck at a part, a piece that really is annoying to clean, you can always switch to sandpaper or sanding sticks. I personally just prefer the back of a precision knife. I am kinda hard of learning and really like to make it more difficult than absolutely necessary. Let's jump to the next part, the gluing. I like this part, it shows possibilities. The key is to use enough glue and use it on the right spots. Also, it is very important that you do not touch. Let me repeat that, do not touch the parts that are wet. When you do, it can leave your fingerprint in the plastic. Usually you can mask it while painting, but it is better to prevent and to be honest. I got a few miniatures that have my fingerprint embedded in them forever and ever. The great thing of gluing and pressing is that you can repair some lines. Here I use the blade to make the lines a bit more dull. Then I use some glue over the edges and press really hard. The glue makes the plastic soft, and the pressing creates a soft plastic line that you can then erase. If you do it properly, it can even mask the lines where you glue two parts together. Alternatively, you can also make and use sprue glue. It is easy and I will do this sometime in the future, but right now I don't have some, so I need to do it the old-fashioned way. While I am pressing and then try to mask the line completely, spoiler alert, it works on this part, but I fail on another. Let's talk about Squidmar Open. I am a huge fan of Squidmar, and I would really like to enter a competition. I am not good enough to enter something like Golden Demon, nor do I have the time for that. I work a full-time job and fiddle with the brush on the side, so joining a competition like this is doable. Also, you do not really compete against others, you compete against a level. It means that there are several bronze, silver, and gold winners. They are chosen on their skill level and not one winner in total. I find that unique, although I hear that there are more competitions that have this setup. Please let me know in the comments if you ever entered a competition and what your takeaway on it is. Let's take the blade again and scrape away some of the parts that I forgot. I must say I really like this model. It is large, but it has nice roundings. Most models of Warhammer are small and have a lot of small details that are a real problem to paint, assemble, or even pick out with the blade or brush. This model has a lot of details as well, but they are good to see, good to pick out, and really fit to the model. Here we remove the press lines. These lines appear when you press the two soft, gluey parts together. When you do this nice and carefully, you can make the lines near invisible. Somehow this model really reminds me of the Tyrannid Psycho page. I like to put the small legs and wings in their place, and I really liked it in that model as well. It was my first large model I ever built. The Leviathan box was full of cool nids and I enjoyed building and painting them even though I know I would do a lot better job by now. But we are now building a Death Guard army. Because I am not stopping after this Pusgoyle Blightlord. I have 3 more of these, and then the gorgeous Harbinger of Decay model. When I finish that one, there are even more waiting. I got the Christmas box of this year. Alright, it is time for the most fun part of this, the painting part. I have primed the model black. I used a spray can. It is quick and efficient. Of course, you do need to be a bit more careful and know that spray can paint is a bit thicker than an airbrush or a normal brush. But all that aside, it usually gets the job done. After the initial black undercoat, I used a white spray can to give it a zenithal. I took all the wings with the white as well. This because I want the wings to feel more translucent and not too solid. They are sort of see-through. I start the painting process with a green layer. I use the flat green from Vallejo. It is a nice paint, and with a little bit of water it goes on nice and easily. Sometimes you need to do an extra coat, but that is fine. I personally like it a bit too thin. I rather paint it in 3 coats and do a great job than in 1, and be annoyed with the result. When you are painting, definitely when you are painting the underlayer, you do need to be too careful. It is not a problem when you hit other parts that you are going to cover up some point further in the process. Just enjoy putting on paint and do not worry too much at this stage of the creation. You can see that I hit the back of the legs several times, and I do not fret about it. I know that I am going to go over them later on. I think they will become some kind of brown or light orange in the end. I am not yet sure. For now it does not matter, and I just place paint on the model as I see fit. The other side of the model, the eventually shadow side, also gets covered with paint, and the same goes here. I am wondering though, how am I going to bring a certain light aspect into this strange, deathly creature? Well, for now it is not a thing to worry about. When I look at the model at this point, it has a nice coverage of paint. The layers have done their job. Even though the light part looks different, it is the same consistency as the shadow side. I know that I want this part to be brighter, as if the underbelly is a bit softer and more see-through. Also, the skin seems to be tightened around these parts, so I'm going to mix the paint. As you can see, I have mixed the flat green from Vallejo with the green yellow. I used the 25 rule and mixed 25% green yellow with the flat green. You can also say that I used 3 drops of flat green and 1 drop of green yellow. This gives me a more yellowish color that works great when I lighten the green without making it lose its potency. I really want this model to pop with color even though it needs to keep a faint, disgusting exterior. Mixing paint can seem a bit hard at the beginning, but when you start out, just keep that 25 rule in mind and it makes life a lot easier. It also gives you something to not forget when you can't paint for a few days. I keep adding more green yellow to the mix. At this point, I got a 2 drops flat green to a 2 drops green yellow mix, or a 50-50 mix if you will. I start painting within the brighter area I painted in before. I keep following the flow of the model as well. Thin stripes from left to right. Do not go too thick at this point, and keep the brush nice and wet. At this point I am nearly completely over to the green yellow, and you can see the brightness. When you are doing the same thing, do not worry. The paint, when drying, becomes a bit more dull in the process, and you can better end up a bit too bright than a bit too dull. I really try to focus the paint on the bits that are higher up, the places where the skin is stressed the most or where muscles lay higher in the skin. Again, I must say that this model is absolutely amazing. I am really contemplating to make one of these look more as a bee and give it some stripes or something. I know that flies are more on theme with the Death Guard, but a bee or a wasp that is decaying should really bring in some focus and look amazing. Do you not agree? This side is really not different than the other side, and I am using the same process. So let's put on a nice tune and enjoy the paint, finding its place.
Grab the brush, it's time to start. Base the green, let's make some art. Death Guard rising, Nurgle's might, spreading plague with every fight. Paint the play, rust and shades of decay. Bloated warriors lead the fray. Highlight armor, sickly tones. Corruption seeping through the bones. Paint the plague, rust and grime. Nurgle's glory out of time. Death guard marching, gross and proud. Rot and ruin, scream out loud. Brush in hand, bring the rot. Nurgle loves what you have wrought. Miniatures done, foul and true. Death guards coming, thanks to you. Paint the plague, rust and grime. Nurgle's glory out of time. Death guard marching, gross and proud. Rot and ruin, scream out loud. Out loud.
Now that we are nice and relaxed, you can see that I used an even more yellow paint to start highlighting some other aspects. I want some of the parts to pop. Again, I am constant thinking where would the skin be most stressed and make those parts more bright. I am not adding white or black, as they would desaturate the paint and make them less colorful. This is the part that I really love the most. I like to look for parts that stick out or need to be adjusted with color. It finishes the first part of the painting process for me. I know that after this part, I can really see the model come together and see here it is leading to. After this, the model is about 85% done, and that is what I need. I need every part to be about 85 to 90% done. The last 10% I finish when all parts are up to par. I want the blisters on this model to pop out, and that means I want a different, more ugly color for them. But I still want the vibrancy of color. I am deciding to go with purple, and I take out the purple blue that I have and mix it with green. I want the model to feel in sync with every part, and that often means that when I take a base color, in this case green, and add that to everything, it should feel as such. The creature really has a lot of Pusgoyles, and I need to find them all. It is tedious, but fun. So when you ever hit this part, do not hold back. Just put on a song and relax. I am adding a bit more purple to really make the color pop and distract from other bright spots. I know that a Blightlord will ride this thing and he will take all attention away from most of these details. But darn do I love these tedious small things. It really keeps my mind focused. I am calling this creature's skin done, and the first step to my Squidmar Open entry is finished. Let's hope that every part goes as nice as this part. I know that it still needs some work, but for today I am done. Follow me if you want to see me finish this and leave a comment. I will reply to them, and if you can give me a nice color scheme for the rider of this beast, I will reward you with a shout out.